Hello guys, welcome back to CODEIN. So as continuing with the series of C, as we have discussed about for loops, while loops, the different kinds of loop, basically the different conditional statement that are available in loops, different types of operators, and how we use it to a program. So we also have a major part that also evolves in a programs are is a function. Like we have in a program used main function, printf function. So these were the already defined function within the compiler. Now if we want to create our own function, how we are going to create that and how we need to implement that in our program, we are going to understand in this video. So we're going to learn that what is a declaration, what do you mean by a prototype, and if you are familiar with that, like you might be having a doubt like, is prototype and declaration the same? And what does the definition do? How do we need to give define a things? Means these things are sometimes confusing. So my video will help you let know how we are going to use these functions and how we can exactly code in C with the help of function. What is the purpose of function, everything. So for that you need to stay tuned in the video and watch the video till the end. And if you like it, please do click on that like button and also subscribe to my channel so that you get regular updates whenever I post a new video. I've already posted the content on my YouTube video. As you can see on the screen, I've posted this already, HTML and all, C++ and everything. So guys, if you're new to my channel, please do like it, share it, and also subscribe to my channel. And with your amazing smile, let's start the video and understand each and every concept clearly in a concise manner. So let's get started. Now you are in a study mode, ready to work it and learn it. What do you mean? So whenever we are talking about functions, so first of all, we basically need to know what do we mean by function. Basically, function is a set of modules that we together make into a single part. That is called as a function. So as you can see on the screen also, I've shown you a square over here like a cuboid. So what you can see, all these different color parts are joining together and making into a one single thing. So that is basically the purpose of a function, that how the function will work. So as we talk about in programming form, so we call in C programming that functions are the main central part of any C program to accomplish a program into a set of subtasks. Like in the previous case, what we were using a int main function or a printf function. So these int main function and the printf functions basically are those functions which are already defined within the compiler. Like we have created this function, means the compiler already have created this function and we can perform that task accordingly. But sometimes it is like that some functions are not available in the compiler. Suppose say if you want to calculate something, like if you want to calculate simple interest or you want to calculate a square of a number, means some math function will be available for like square and something. But if you want to create your own function, so for that we are using functions in it. So for that function, we are going to create a function which will include three things. That is a function declaration or prototype, we can say. Second thing that is including in it is the function calling. And the third part will include the function definition. So we are going to learn this one by one, that what does each and every part means. The very first part. So when we are talking about the very first part, so first part is the function definition. Now whenever we are talking about a program, a data type, what is the name of the function and how many arguments it need to pass. So as we are using the int main function, we are using a parenthesis. So in function, whenever we are using a parenthesis, anything which is involved into that parenthesis, that are called as arguments or the parameters. So whenever we are talking about this thing, so we first need to define a function prototype or a declaration. Means if you are new to programming, I could suggest you that you should do this thing first and then try to make a function. But it's not necessary that you need to define a function declaration or function prototype. I'll show you that with the help of an example also, at how we can exactly work with it in a function prototype without defining and with defining. So basically function prototype and function declaration means just telling the return type of the function, telling the name of the function, the number of parameters it need to pass. Now the second thing that we need to be familiar when we are talking about functions and when we have to use functions, that plays a major role and we need to understand what it exactly means. So whenever I'm talking about the second thing, that is the function calling. So when I tell you about function calling, what do you mean by calling? Like you call a person, you click on that particular thing, then only that person is being called. So when we are calling a function means as soon as the program encounters that this is what the function name which was declared by the user, and now it is calling the function with some parameters. So that is called as function calling. So basically function calling means calling that function which we have declared to perform some specific task. For example, say if we wanted to perform a task say of a square, or if we wanted to perform a task of say a calculating a parameter of a circle, or any other task that we have declared into a function, wherever we want to call in the main function or whatever we are using. So what we are just going to do, we are going to call that function. So as we understood that we need to define a function, basically means a declaration and the prototype. And then we have to call that function. So calling and definition means basically the prototype that will only work if we have given something into the function. Basically that is called as definition. Now what makes it different from declaration is declaration is just declaring it, and the definition means to define what we are going to use in that function. So as I have declared the data type and the function name and the parameters. So what I am going to do in the definition is I am going to tell it that basically what is this function going to do. So first of all, I'll write the return type, then the function name, then number of parameters that I want to pass, then start it with the curly braces and end it with the curly braces. And with the curly braces, I will include those statements and that body part which I need to perform into that particular function. So it will be easier for you. Let us understand this with the help of an example. Here is a program code that it will let you know that how we can actually work with functions and what we need to define. You can see on right on the screen, there's a turbo compiler. I've opened it, in which I'm including the necessary header files that whatever I want to use into my program. So if you're using turbo compiler, then also fine. If you're using something other, that is also fine. I'm using the turbo compiler so that it's easy for the new learner to understand what we are going to exactly do. So here you can see what I've done int square, in which I have written int num. That is one parameter that I have passed over here, with the name of the function is square and the return type is integer type. You can give any kind of return type based upon your need. So this is basically called as the function declaration or the prototype. Even if it is written as function prototype, that means the same, and function declaration, that also means the same. So these are some parameters, number, and the square is the name of the function name. So what we are going to exactly do into this function, we are going to process it further in the program. Now I have written the int main. So int main is the basic function for which we need to run any program. So in the int main function, I am just declaring a variable, say int x, and I am going to assign it some value. Or if I don't want to assign a value, I can enter from user also. So I'm going to assign the value later on. So x and one variable I have taken a result. So I have declared the value of x as 5. Then in the result, what I have done, I have written equals to square. Square was the name of my function, and then the parenthesis in which I have passed the value x. So means x is the parameter of that function. So this part, like where I have called the square with the parenthesis and the semicolon, that is function calling. Calling which function? The function that I have given a declaration and a prototype. Whenever you are giving a prototype, you need to end it with a semicolon. Whenever you are giving a calling, that also you need to end with a semicolon. That you need to keep in mind. Then you have going to print this statement that whatever the value is entering, so you need to show me the square of that particular value. Because I've named the function as square, so I'm going to show to the task that is basically used to calculate the square. So I'm passing that whatever I want to print it, so percentage %d x and the result value in whichever it will be store the result. I'm saying you again and again, whenever we are calling a function and giving a prototype, in that case only I have to end it with a semicolon. That is basically the syntax. So here prototype and the calling is clear. Now what I am going to do, I am going to define that what exactly I want to do in this function. So I have written int square. Int is a return type, square is the name of the function, in which I am going to pass the parameter int num. So here I pass the parameter, and this will not end with a semicolon. If you end this with a semicolon, it will result to an error. You can check that also. It will not result with end with a semicolon. After that, what we are going to do, we are going to just add int y, and then we are going to write y is equals to number, and then we are going to multiply that number 2 times so that you get the square, and then we are going to return y. So basically why we are returning y, we are giving that value to the main function so that it can print me the value whenever I'm going to execute this code. So basically this is the purpose. Whenever I'm going to execute this code, so the resultant output that will be displayed to me will be according to that only. So here, as you can see, I have written a semicolon over here. So what is the semicolon? We cannot use it in a definition. So when I'm going to run this, you can see an error. Declaration is terminated incorrectly. So what I'm going to use, just remove the semicolon and then I'm going to run this code. So when I'm going to run this code, what you can see, there are no errors and the square is come out to me. You can change your value accordingly, whichever you want to do, and you can give that. Now let us understand another example. Now sometimes there is a confusion in mind with most of the students is that should I need to define a function prototype each and every time whenever I want to write a function? Is it necessary? And what if and don't define a prototype? So this program is just to tell you that if you are not defining a prototype, then how you can work it. So here I've given the header files and then I've written int sum and I'm passing two parameters. So this way you will be able to understand in this program also, like if I want to pass two parameters, then also how can I work with it. It is not necessary you can just pass one parameter, you can pass number of parameters based upon your needs. So basically we are adding these two numbers, so I need two parameters, so I pass int x and int y. And you need to also keep one thing in mind. I have seen most of the students make a mistake when they are new to this thing, that what they do is they make the same variables as they have given over here in the main function also. If they are writing over here x and y, in the main function they are also going to write x and y and going to pass that, so that they are going to feel that they have made the accordingly. You can pass that according to the same variables also, but you need to make it define into that. You can just define into a sum function and just passing that variables only. You need to define the same variables if you want to use in the main function, and then only you can use. So most of the students, what they make a mistake, they define that int x and y over there only, and they are not defining it into the main function. So you need to define the main function as I've done over here. So in this case, what I am going to take the value from the user. So whenever I want to take the value from the user, we are using a scanf function. So if you don't know which functions are used to print and which function are used to scan or whatever, so you can pause my previous video. The full playlist is over there of C videos, and this is the series continuing of that C videos. You can watch that, in which you can understand each and every part in the previous video. So do that, watch that videos if you are not clear with this directly. I suggest you to watch that videos. So here I have used a result equals to sum x comma y, that is calling that function. So now by the time you must be clear, whenever we are calling a function, we just write the function name and the parameters. And if you want to store into a variable, it's your choice. If you don't want to store into a variable, then it's also work. So it is your choice basically if you want to run it with a variable or if you don't want to run it. I could suggest you to store into a variable, so it's easy for us to print that particular thing whenever we are storing into some variable. So I have done over here printing all the things and get ch and return 0 whatever I wanted to keep. So in this case, what you see, I have defined the function already, and after that I am going to call that function. So this is basically the calling of the function, and this is basically the definition of the function which I have already done here. So here I have written x plus equals to y. That means I am adding x plus y, means both the number. We can write either of the way. Whenever I am writing either of the way, it will show me the just the same output. So I run it. When I'm going to run the program, so what it will do, it will just show me the values. First of all, it will ask me the values, whichever value I want to enter, and then it will show me the display output. So guys, I hope you are clear with every part of function, prototype, declaration, and the function calling, everything, and you have a woohoo smile on your face and you love the content, to give that thumbs up, and also please do click on the subscribe button. Instagram page, the link is in the bio. And if you're not using Instagram or something stuff, I'll try to post all the content of that I post on Instagram over my YouTube thing also. So do let me know in the comment section how do you like the video, and also do give it a subscribe, and also let me know what kind of videos you want. And thank you so much for watching.